our picks for our top 10 transfer portal additions. We're not including quarterbacks in this list. I feel like we talk about the quarterback position enough to the point where we've got to focus on something else. We do. And you want to talk about bigger impacts. I get that the quarterback position is going to get a lot of love at the end of the day. Guys, these are going to be the primary focus on both sides of the line of scrimmage and at the skill position outside of that. Starting off at number 10, I've got Princewell Umamielen. Crazy as it sounds, I have him at 10, but he's still going to make an incredible impact at LSU. Guys, you talk about his presence off the edge, and you talk about what type of edge rusher this cat is. He brings it. He is all over the field, and he is a guy that has done really, really well this year. Thought he's been really well in the backfield as well. I thought he's been in the backfield a good bit throughout the season. And I think he's going to continue to bring that. I think that you are going to see a guy like Umamielen that's going to have a lot more in his arsenal down the stretch of a season. He comes up clutch in big moments. When you need a great rush, you're going to get one from Princewell Umamielen. He can wreck a game. And he is a guy that I think is going to play a massive role for LSU's defense that, quite frankly, didn't have a solid edge presence. I know people were expecting a lot more, knowing what you invested from the portal this past year. I can't really say that guys like Harold Perkins or Patrick Payton kind of stepped up in that role. Now, this is not me saying that either of them played bad, but I don't think that they're going to bring the same type of presence on the defensive line, unlike what a guy like Princewell Umamielen is going to bring when he gets to LSU. Guys, he is a dominant specimen. He has the NFL frame for an edge rusher. 6'5", 245 pounds. I've seen him in person. The guy is a machine. He works his ass off. And he is going to provide a spark for an LSU defense that, quite frankly, has not had a pure edge rusher consistently, I would say, in 5, maybe 6 years. Probably when Caleb Chason was their edge presence. The reason why I'm not including a guy like Harold Perkins in that mix is that he's had moments, but he was just never consistent, unlike a guy like Caleb Chason, who went on to be a first-round draft pick, or a BJ Ujulari. Umamielen may be the biggest game wrecker that LSU has gotten in the portal in the entire time that the portal has been open. Part of that has to do with Lane Kiffin's presence at Baton Rouge. But damn, the presence is strong because it don't matter if he got 4 dudes from Ole Miss. They're impactful transfers. Very impactful transfers. That is going to make a difference. That is going to create havoc. Princewell Umamielen is that guy. Coming in at number 9, I got Wyatt Young, who's now at Oklahoma State. The number 1 target for Drew Mestemaker this past year was Wyatt Young. You want to talk about an impactful guy that was such a dynamic receiver in the American Conference. Wyatt Young was just that. Run after catch was incredible. He has probably the best hands out of anybody in the portal. I think he could create a situation where he could be a guy that might be in the running for Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year this time next year because of how dominant he has been. I mean, he'll have runs where he'll just look electric in a 3-game stretch where they played UAB, Rice, and Temple. In those 3 games, first of all, North Texas averaged over 53 and about they averaged almost 53 points a game in that 3-game stretch. Wyatt Young, he finishes with 70 catches for 1264. In that 3-game stretch, he had 22 catches for 565 yards and 3 scores. He averaged over 25 yards a freaking catch. 8 catches for 295 against Rice. 8 for $143 against UAB. 6 for $127 against Temple. 9 for 190 against Charlotte. And I know these aren't the best of games, but guys, he cannot disappear when games matter most. A la the Tulane game, when you have an opportunity to go win an American Conference championship. Can't have it. Cannot have it. So you have got to get him the football. But it's games like what we've seen during that 3-game stretch that makes him so dynamic. He can stretch the field at any time. A very clean route runner. Watching that North Texas offense on film gets me excited for what's to come in Stillwater. I really think that 2026 is going to be a year like what Texas Tech had. You look at the difference that 1 year made for Texas Tech's defense. Let's see what happens with Oklahoma State. You go to Tulsa, you play Murray State, you go to Morgantown to play West Virginia. You play Oregon at home. I'm not expecting you to beat them at home. However, I do think that this game is going to be a lot closer than it was last year when it was 69-3. You can't have that this time. Yeah, it was 69-3. You should take care of that business in that game. Your offense should be night and day's difference much better than what we've seen as of late from this Oklahoma State offense. The reality for Oklahoma State is that they're in a very good position where they could win 8 or 9 games. Is it a hard schedule? Yes. You go to Tempe to play Arizona State. I think you have a legit chance to win that football game. You host Texas Tech at home. You're at Kansas State. You're at Iowa State. You're at Houston. You're at West Virginia. And then you get Oregon at home. I don't think it's out of the box And it's a hard ask for Oklahoma State to be an 8 or 9 win team. Crazy as that sounds, I think that they can play spoiler in a couple of games. I don't think Arizona State is as good as what we're being told. I don't know what to expect from Houston or from Iowa State on the road. Houston's just going to lose a lot of production on offense. They lost their best tight end in Tanner Kozoil. You do have some defensive dudes that are going to be returning. Connor Wakeman's back. But I think that game will be much closer. And I think that a team like Oklahoma State is not going to have the same results they had last year. I think a bowl game is definitely gettable, achievable in year one for Eric Morris and company. The offense is going to be night and day, a big difference. Wyatt Young is going to be a part of that. Number 8, speaking of offensive production, what was Colorado's biggest weakness last year? Again, I go back to saying that the production from the offensive side of the ball was not good. Going into their first full year, no Shedeur Sanders, no Travis Hunter, and for the second time in 3 years, you have a losing record. So how hot is Deion's seat at this point? I don't know. I really don't know. But you know that you had to make changes. That's why you fire Pat Shurmur. That's why that Deion went out and got a guy like Brennan Marion, who is a high up-tempo offense. I think that was one of the biggest steals of college football. The fact that Deion was able to entice a guy like Brennan Marion that's in a head coaching position, and you're able to get him the money to say, hey, man, let's come on out to Boulder. Let's see if we can't make a difference. And you see the type of impact that's about to be made. Not to mention, by the way, you have DeAndre Moore, who's going to be entering his last year, and Cam Perry, and Ernest Campbell, Joseph Williams, who had a strong season. This is a very deep receiving core that was a weak point for Colorado last year. They could not throw the football down the field. Part of it was because of how bad the offense would move down the field. Colorado just straight up was not good offensively. They were 116th in points per game. In total offense, they were 114th. That's what happens when you lose 2 of the best players that your program has ever had in quite some time. How much of an impact will Danny Sudero going to make for Colorado? I would expect for a big one. NCAA leader in yards, 1291 this past year. He's had games where he can pop off. 7 catches for 215 against Hawaii, 10 for 180 against Wyoming, 11 for $135 against Stanford, 9 for $189 against Central Michigan. Played against Texas, and even though he only had 7 catches for 60 yards, still very impressive going up against a Texas secondary that has a guy like Malik Muhammad. He's going to be a slot guy, but I think he can still make an impact in there. I believe he can be a Jimmy Horn Jr. type of receiver. Crazy as it sounds, and crazy that I may sound. You see the impact that Jimmy Horn Jr. made in 2 years with Colorado, especially that first year, 58 catches, 567, and 6 scores. He can be a deep ball threat, and you cannot let him get vertical down the field because he's going to burn you when he gets to the secondary. Number 7. Man, Michigan got a massive. They might have gotten Aiden Hutchinson 2.0 in John Henry Daly. I really like his tape, and I really like what he did with Utah this past year. Utah, for some reason, just manages to produce edge rushers. Former BYU guy, has been in Utah his entire year, was on a Mormon mission for 2 years, goes into BYU, plays 1 season there, transfers to their rival, and you know what he does? He only records 11.5 sacks and 48 total tackles. First team All-American. Now you pair him with a Michigan defense that needs an edge presence. Now, does it suck that at the time that you get this, Lou Esposito is headed to the NFL? Sure, but I don't think it really matters. Jay Hill, his former defensive coordinator, is going to meet him over at Michigan. How fun will that be? Michigan last year, when it came to I don't think really had that much of a impact at the next level. And I think John Henry Daly was part of a Utah Utes defensive line, dude, that needed some dudes. That needed to be able to get developed. He's a plug-and-play guy. He's going to be very productive off the edge. His gap integrity is going to be massive. So they brought in Lewis Powell, who was with Utah as well. So it was a little bit of a battle between him and between LSU and Michigan for John Henry Daly. But look, I think Michigan got the better hand because of that relationship that was already built prior to him hitting the portal. High motor in pass rush. He just doesn't stop. That's what you're going to have to need from a guy like that. And for Michigan to continue the production from a defensive standpoint, what they're leaving going into the year 1 of the Kyle Whittingham era, I think you're going to find ways to mix him in. I'm telling you, I have visions, and I'm seeing Aiden Hutchinson 2.0 when I see this kid play. Number 6, Hollywood Smothers. How massive was that flip for Texas? Absolutely incredible that Texas was able to flip him from Alabama. Who'd have thought we're in the era where you have transfers that are flipping? Transfers that are flipping. Smothers is the complete package at running back. Catching the football out of the backfield has been his specialty. Guy that can pop off for big runs, and he's not afraid to rip one off in the middle of the field. But somehow, some way, he tends to disappear in big games against Notre Dame and against Miami. Now, he did deal with that little injury against Miami when they got blown out by 34. Was held to just under 4 yards a carry, had 12 carries for 46 yards against Notre Dame. You got to feed him the football at least 15 to 20 times a game. And you got to utilize him properly. He's going to have to be a red zone back out in the receiving game. And I would expect for a team like Texas to utilize him that way. Texas did that with Trey Wisner 2 years ago. Now you saw a dip in production from the running back room. Guys, Texas needed a back. And they got the best one off the board. That's a massive get for them. That's a massive get for Texas's offense, for Sark, who knows they needed help at the skill position. They're losing a lot. All right, number 5. Welcome Lee Hunter 2.0. That's Mateen Ibirogba. I'm trying to pronounce that name again. I apologize if I did not say that correctly. Guys, I see shades of Lee Hunter. I see shades and shades and shades of Lee Hunter. You got one of the best you got the best quarterback that's on your roster right now, and you got arguably one of the best defensive players that is on your roster at this point in time. Guys, when Texas Tech loses three guys that I think could be first-round picks in Lee Hunter, Romello Height, and David Bailey, not to mention Skylar Gill-Howard that grew into a top 100 prospect. Guys, that's massive. Massive. Now, they led all of college football in pressures and then led and was top 10 in sacks and TFLs this year. 11 transfer portal commitments, which, when it is all said and done, think about the impact that's about to be made. I could throw Trey White in there too, talk about a guy, but if he didn't have that down year last year for San Diego State, he would be on this list. I still think he's worth an honorable mention, by the way. But Iragogba, it's going to be a big piece. It's hard to find replacements for guys like Skylar Gill-Howard and for Lee Hunter. Lee Hunter just had a massive week at the Senior Bowl and got a bag. That was his bag week. I'm telling you, Broga is going to be next man up. I see that. I really do. Number 4, Damon Wilson II. 9 sacks a year ago, pure edge rusher. I was surprised he hit the portal, to be honest with you. But, I mean, money talks at the end of the day. Replacing Ruben Bain is going to be tough for Miami. Damon Wilson, I'm not going to say he is going to be that. I think he needs to get a little bit better in the run game. I think he has to get better being physical with pulling blockers. I think he's got to find a way to improve that way, which, by the way, he is. But from a pass rush standpoint, it's hard to find a better edge rusher right now on the portal than what you have with Zion Young or with Damon Wilson. He was opposite Zion Young. And both of them shared similar traits. And Zion Young could be in the mix to be a first-round draft pick. Look who's about to be a top 5 pick in April. That's Ruben Bain. Who's to say that Miami's roster isn't better this year based on what they've gotten from the portal? Defense is going to be a big strong suit for Corey Heatherman and company. And they got a really, really, really damn good defensive end that is almost like Ruben Bain. But if he gets better on squeezing down, if he gets better at being physical in the run game, he's going to be the complete package. And being with a defensive line room that includes guys like Damian Lewis, who's done a really good job with the interior, and you're pairing him along with a Hall of Famer and Jason Taylor. Guys, Miami is in a position to succeed at the defensive line position in the transfer portal. Number 3 is Jordan Seaton. Why do I not have him 3? I'll tell you my first 2 and 1, and we'll get to it. But, guys, Jordan Seaton is a mountain. 6'5", 330 pounds right now. I think he was taller. I think he's extremely, extremely athletic for his size and for his stature. It is completely incredible. You get him out in space. Guys, he is so quick on pinning and pulling. You get him out there in space. Guys, I'm going to show you in all 22 that took my breath away and shows you the kind of athlete that he is. It is extremely impressive, to say the least, when I see Jordan Seaton. Look at how he gets out in space so quickly. Look at his first step. Side step, boom, get out. I want you to look at his footwork. I'm going to slow it down. Crossing, and then boom, sprint. By the time the ball's about to be handed off, we're already about to try and kick out this linebacker. It's a duo, so it's a GT counter, or it's a GT option, excuse me. So we're getting out in front. We may miss this block, but look at what Seaton does. We're going to keep our back balanced. We're going to get back out in space, maintain our block on that defensive lineman, and let our running back work. That is an impressive display. I'm going to show more film later on if I can. He runs incredible. He is a very athletic dude. I think he can be a solid fixture on an offensive line that has been really, really underperforming the last 2 years in 24 and 25. And by the way, 24 and 25 is when you have 2 guys that went in the top 100 of the NFL draft. When we talk about Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Doesn't that say something with how bad this offensive line has been and how bad the production has been and the development has been of your offensive line? Just saying. Number 2, I have this offensive lineman above Jordan Seaton, but it's about the impact that he will make, and that is Jacarius Peak. I've been following Jacarius Peak ever since he was in high school. When he committed to North Carolina State, I thought it was a massive steal for the Wolfpack. And it turned out to be just that. Is there for 3 years and puts out dominating performances. Jacarius Peak is going to be a first-round draft pick in 2026. Very athletic offensive tackle. And for a team that needs offensive tackle help, you guys know my criticism of this offensive line. Guys, nearly 4 of your 5 starters on the offensive line hit the portal. You know why? Because they were dog water. They were horrible. And I get South Carolina fans telling me, "Oh, why are you this? Why are you that?" When it comes to that, do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to sugarcoat it and make you feel better about your organism, about your team? Because I'm not doing that. And to be real with you, I don't think you should watch Josiah Thompson have another bad year in 2020, or really another overwhelmingly, how do I say it? A year that he doesn't meet expectations again. Look how quickly I'm about to jump on every single one of you and tell you I was right. Like I have been for a very long time. Just saying. But Peak is going to be an NFL left tackle for any team in the NFL. I think he brings a very big impact that I think is going to define a lot of what South Carolina is going to do over the next going into the spring when he gets into install, when he has that type of experience. And then when you add in the fact that his football IQ is above the roof, it's not like he's raw talent either. He's very well polished. He can be an All-American for South Carolina. I would have him on my way too early All-American team. Jacarius Peak is going to be a star in the making at South Carolina. And number one, I think this should be everybody's obvious pick. That's Cam Coleman. You lose Parker Livingstone, you lose DeAndre Moore, and you look at the outlook on where your receiving room is going to look like, and you say to yourself, who the hell is Arch going to throw to? Well, you got the best receiver in college football in Cam Coleman. Really one of the best college receivers in college football. Jeremiah Smith's number one without question. But my point being is that Cam Coleman is such an athletic freak that it's hard to deny the fact of his impact at the next level for a team like Texas. Arch Manning is about to look like a first-round draft, is about to look like the first overall damn pick because he's got number 6 to throw or number 8 to throw the football to, or whatever his number will be this upcoming season. Auburn fans, hey, I don't really feel bad for you. You couldn't keep him around, but it's not like he was the main reason why you won a lot of your games. But he's such an athletic freak that he can change a lot of games. He can make athletic plays. He can make great catches. He can adjust to the football. He can go up and get 50-50 balls. He can do the little things like that can impact a football game. That's the type of guy that he is. That's the type of mentality he's going to bring. And think about how impressive This Texas's offense is going to look like revamped with a guy like Cam Coleman in their receiving core. It's going to be night and day difference compared to what it was last year. You saw young, raw talent last year. You're getting veteran experience in 2026. I think that's going to kickstart Texas's run back to the college football playoff. And I think that this 3-year plan with a guy like Arch Manning, well, really a 2-year plan, because this is year 2 of him. And I believe that this is his last year of eligibility too. But Arch's last year is going to be what gets him to be a top 10 pick in 2027. It's when you surround yourself with the talent that you know you have. Your raw and unexperienced talent is going to turn into something great. The last 2 games that Arch Manning played in, they were 2 of his best games that he's ever played. When he played Texas A&M, dominated that game, and goes to Michigan and dominates in the bowl game. Those are the 2 most important games that I thought that Arch could have played in and really was going to lay the foundation of what Texas is going to look like in 2026. That's why I have them as my pick for the national championship and potentially finally winning it all. We'll see what happens on defense, though. Colin Simmons is back. You still have a lot to replace in the interior. You got to hit that with a vengeance. And by the way, what is your offensive line going to look like for Texas? That's the biggest thing that I have to really worry about from them.